Hey, welcome to Late Night with Larry. I'm here doing it once again with my co-host Vince. Vince, give me a shout out.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Larry D Studios. Glad to have you.
That's right. We're here doing it like we always do. And before we get started, we want you to reach out to us. And you can do that by emailing us at latenightwithlarry55@gmail.com. Or, as we've been telling you, our second email, which is soon to come and change names, cryptidcrossroads505@gmail.com. We want to hear from you, so hit us up. As my brother says, tap that app.
Tap it. Hit it, then quit it.
That's right. Subscribe.
Yeah, we'd like to hear from all of you, actually.
That's right. And we're going to go ahead and get started with our usual toast.
Toast to the town. Here we go.
Town to y'all.
Now, this toast is to the aliens.
To the aliens.
They're sponsoring content tonight.
That's right. And they're real. Ooh, Lord.
Lord have mercy.
If I didn't have hair on my chest, I do now. I'd say there.
Right. I had hair on my chest, but that burned it off.
Right. Oh, Lord. So we were just watching a documentary, which I told my brother about. And in this documentary, a whistleblower exposes some of the major secrets and mistakes mankind have made with the interactions with aliens. I don't think we'd have time to go over all of them, but we're just going to hit the highlights for you. And we all know that mistake number one is us creating the atomic bomb.
Right. Destruction, creating destruction, and basically destroying the earth.
That's right. And we've always said that that's why aliens come around, because we've, as they put it in this documentary, we went from man killers to world destroyers.
Right.
And if that's not going to garner attention in the universe, I don't know what will.
Right. Now, we've always talked about why New Mexico is a pretty good hotspot for UFO activity. And we have the Trinity site where the first atomic bomb was detonated. We have Los Alamos. We have Dulce. They said in the documentary, some of the German scientists after the war, when Germany surrendered, they cut a deal. Instead of going to jail for war crimes, they came to work for us.
That's right.
And that's where a lot of the UFO technology came in, because supposedly they shot down the bell-shaped craft
on their expedition to Alaska. And that's when they said when Hitler became the Führer of Germany, they took that craft, and Hitler wanted to reverse engineer it to use it against us in the war, against everyone. And that's what they were working on. And if any of you have watched Discovery Channel, there have been several episodes dedicated to that craft. And witnesses that were supposedly inside the prison camps at that time, the Jewish people, said that late at night they would hear a loud humming and they would see a bell come up and glow and then go back down. So that tells me that there were eyewitnesses that say that they had almost perfected anti-gravity travel because of what they said.
Right. Now, around that time is when the United States dropped the bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
That's right.
And along with the test sites and that would get some aliens' attention. But not only that, later on they even tested a nuke in outer space.
Right. They tested 5 of them in outer space.
Okay, well, that'll definitely get their attention.
And that was during Kennedy's presidency. And if that don't do it, I don't know what will. And they said they were testing that for purposes of seeing if we could destroy craft coming in or going out as far as an alien invasion is concerned. Now, this documentary also talked about, since we got this the bell-shaped craft, we've been using it as a spy ship once we had these German scientists develop the technology that made it work. And we've done more than that. We've created several ships that are anti-gravity. And
Right. Now they say the bell-shaped ship, that's a tongue twister.
right.
They say it's still in use today as a spy plane. And they actually had some footage over Sweden or something, right?
And yeah. And it was interesting to see it because you see that footage and it's taken from a resident or someone on the ground, and you're like, they had no idea that, of what they're looking at, but it looked just like the craft Hitler was working on. And I'm going to tend to put a little bit of belief into that, because who knows what's going on out there.
Right.
But supposedly, according to these whistleblowers, the United States does have UFOs. Aliens are also penetrating our atmosphere with their UFOs.
Right.
So, like I was telling my brother, now how do we differentiate when we ourselves have a UFO sighting, as we sometimes do up in the mountains? These craft act like no other craft can. So now I'm going to wonder, is that ours or theirs?
Right. Yep. And they were showing what is supposedly our crafts, the anti-gravity crafts, not the bow, but
Right.
I guess they've made some leaps in technology. They are a little different, triangle shaped, and it looks exactly like these this footage you see on TV where the eyewitnesses film it.
Right.
It looks actually exactly like that.
If you ever watch any UFO documentaries, you'll be like, that's exactly what was on this documentary, saying that we have developed and that we are out there flying. Now, I think the differentiator here is we fly ours for whatever purposes, but the craft that come into our atmosphere go around, and the ones that are shutting down our nuclear facilities, I think that is theirs.
Right.
Because in beginning of the story, supposedly the Russians Stalin sent a group of army of his soldiers out there to
Antarctica
to basically look for uranium to build the nuclear bomb. And they were met by 3 12-foot bronze aliens, and they said, we already know your intentions, and we're not going to let it happen. You don't destroy this earth. So they chased them off, and they couldn't complete their expedition. So supposedly the story is they went back home to Russia and told Stalin the story, and they all got killed or put in prison for life.
Yeah, lifetime sentences, because Stalin thought they just didn't want to explore because it was such harsh territory.
That's right. And when come to find out, other nations had the same encounter. In 1946, when the U.S. sent their little military fleet up there, they went further than any other fleet has went, and they were encountered by 5 UFOs, and then these had to be aliens,
Right.
because our technology wasn't there yet, and they decimated almost the whole military that was up there within 3 minutes.
3 minutes. And they said they started retreating. They said that the aliens took mercy on them because they could have destroyed the whole fleet.
Within seconds. So it was interesting. It caught my attention, and I tend to think that some of these stories are right, and they're correct, and they're true. Now, people will say, "Oh, you're a crackpot," but it's my own belief. You believe yourself in things you haven't seen. It's called faith.
Right. Now, there's been these satellite images I've seen, and people argue back and forth about a pyramid on Antarctica.
Right.
And according to this documentary, that was just one of the things that the expedition found down there.
Right.
There was other structures, alien structures they built.
All right. And recently I heard a story about Russians that went back up there and they dived under the ice, and they were met by 9-foot aliens that had like breathing apparatuses over their head, and they killed almost all of them. I think a couple of them survived, and that's how they know the story. But most of those divers did die.
Right.
And just tells you we don't know what's up there under the ice, but as it keeps melting, I reckon we're going to find out.
Right. And after those failed attempts, that's when the U.S. and several other countries signed a treaty saying that only peaceful operations shall be conducted in Antarctica.
That's right.
But of course, that was just a cover up, you know.
Of course, they're building military bases around it.
Yeah.
Now this leads back. We're kind of jumping around, but it leads back to Australia, to where Richard Gere said. Richard Gere. I always call him Richard Gere.
Looking
Richard
for Mr. Goodbar.
Greer, who's heavily and well known in the UFO community, because he spent all his life basically doing research, and he knows supposedly more than our government officials.
Right.
And he said he met someone who said there's a place in Australia where they're kicking them out. It's their Area 51. And he said that these little grays are coming off the line like sausage.
Right. And he even mentioned Dulce.
Right.
Because he talked about everything being subterranean.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've heard stories about how the base goes down into the earth.
Right.
And
now,
same thing in Australia.
to fill you in, he said that they're coming off the assembly line like sausages, and that leads into the fake alien invasion that's coming, so that we could unite as a world. Now, I know everyone's heard of the one world government, the Antichrist, all that in the Bible. It has to do with getting the world under one government, one religion, uniting. And he said in order to have unity of mankind, you got to have something that threatens them. And a fake alien invasion where you have actual spaceships, these little AI robots that have actual skin over.
Right.
It's basically Terminator coming true.
Right.
And you'll see it, you'll believe it, you'll think it's a threat. Mankind will unite and fight against them. But he said that's just a precursor, because there's a real alien invasion coming.
Right. Now to tie that in, what you're talking about with AI into the Roswell crash, they said there was several aliens that died in the crash. And when they did the autopsy, that's what they found. It was robots with flesh covering.
Flesh, yeah. And they say these cattle mutilations and whatnot that they're seeing around the world, that they use that skin to create the coverings for them. And I don't know, man. It sounds far-fetched, but
Well, and the cattle mutilations, they have a purpose also. It's all in the grand scheme of to create fear among us of aliens. When they do the mock invasion,
right, nothing, and they're right. Nothing will unite men like fear of a common threat.
right, there you go. Just like say for instance in our country when 9/11 happened, probably never seen this country so united.
Right, and that was a common threat that happened. And there you go again. 9/11 supposedly was an inside job as well.
Right. But, going back to the alien invasion, they're going to do a mock alien invasion because they say a real one's on the way. Maybe that'll unite everyone on the earth. But like we saw in 9/11, the fabric of that unity falls apart.
It does. Now, the fabric of that unity won't fall apart if they gain total control over you.
Right. But they could only gain total control if we give them total control.
That's right. Well, let's take this pandemic, for instance. Now many states are passing laws to limit the governor's ability and these health organizations so that they can't shut down places. And because they're looking back and they're saying these governors had far too much control.
It was basically like martial law.
Right. And these governors just spoke a word and said, this is what you need. And we blindly followed like sheep. I was still out there. I didn't stay home all the time. So
Well, like me, nothing changed for me. I worked. The only thing is
right.
I couldn't go to my favorite places that were closed.
Right. And you're right. I still had to go to work and everything. I telecommuted for a while, but then I took a new job and I went to the office daily. And, slowly you start seeing people creep out. But in the beginning, yeah, mankind's totally, if there's fear or a threat, they'll blindly follow the leader.
Right. Now, that just proved that the government can control the people with a little bit of fear, and dangling a carrot in front of their face.
That's right. Now we know this virus is real. I'm not saying it's not. There are people that I know that have died from it. Now I didn't do the autopsy, but supposedly every death during this pandemic was labeled a
Every single death
was labeled a COVID-19. So I don't really know what they died from, but just people seeing other people die, which people die on a daily basis, and labeling it, this virus killed them.
It's funny how usually we have so many flu deaths a year, but that didn't happen this year.
Right. No, it didn't. Anyway, back to the alien agenda. So the other thing that's going to happen, and we've talked about it in a previous podcast, is Project Bluebeam. Project Bluebeam is right before this alien encounter. Everyone on this earth will see holograms, and these holograms are going to be of all the top religious leaders that have lived. Buddha, Muhammad, Jesus, and all the Hindu gods, and they're all just going to merge into one. And they say that's what's going to help people say, oh, I see. I don't know what's going to be said with these holograms, what's going to be done, but it's going to be convincingly enough to make people think, well, yep, everything is just one religion.
But, to me, that's going to be a hard sell, because there's still today wars are fought over religion, over religious beliefs.
It is going to be a hard sell, but let me put it this way. All these religions that are waiting for their saviors to return, if you're not educated in what's going to happen, and you see the sky start opening up, and the figure that you pray to religiously or that you worship, and you see it start coming from the heavens to the earth, and it's in your sky, everyone's seeing it, that's going to be pretty convincing for some people.
Right. That's going to have to be a pretty convincing hologram, though.
I think it will be. I mean, if you look at some of these holograms, just the little ones that they have now, people go nuts and they're astonished by them.
Right.
For instance, people want to bring the Ronnie James Dio hologram.
Right.
You don't think that would sell out tickets?
It does, and they have taken it on tour.
And I'm like, so people would see that, and I think it wouldn't. It's going to be spectacular, but they'll fall for it.
Right. Yeah. There's still going to be a very small percentage of the population that's going to say, "Wait a minute. I heard this was coming."
Right. And those are the ones. That people are saying you're the whackpot now because you believe in that. But if you're alive and that stuff does happen and you see it start happening, you're going to be like, wait a minute.
Right.
Maybe there was a grain of truth in what they were saying. So that'll make you think. But according to the Bible, those ones that don't conform, they're going to get beheaded.
Yeah, and that's a possibility, and it has nothing to do with religion. It'll be the government.
Of course, they don't want a stronghold. They want everyone to conform. It's kind of like with these vaccine shots. Everybody needs to get them. Everybody, because it's an emergency. We are in an emergency situation. I'll just hold my peace on that one, but
Okay, well, back to the documentary. Yeah. The second mistake we had was drilling deep into the Earth's core.
Right, which caused what's called skyfall. That's a little hard to explain, but we did see some video footage of places on Earth where it was actually raining rock without any volcanic activity, just like rain from the clouds.
Right. They say you drill like 7 miles down into the Earth's core, right, and there's a protective layer. It's a metallic protective spear around the center of the Earth that protects the Earth, and they drilled through that, releasing the high pressure and whatever's in there that went up to the sky, and it looked like freaking fire in the sky. Right. And then that gas, it hardens once it hits the air. Then you have what's called skyfall, raining rocks.
Right. It shoots up as hot gas, and once it condenses in the cool clouds that have moisture, it becomes rock, and then it falls back down to the ground. I wouldn't want to be outside when that happens.
No, and I experienced something similar to that when I was in the Philippines when the volcano blew up. It was raining rock,
Right.
but that was because of the volcano. But same principle because it's coming from the center of the earth.
Right. And the volcano, that's called pyroclastic. So that's sharp rock.
Right.
And it's just like the dust from the volcano. It's superheated. If you breathe it, it'll kill you instantly. But if you breathe it after it's cooled down and still falling as dust, it'll solidify your lungs.
Right. And now that's you've heard the term "scorch the sky."
Right.
That's basically what they did, and they're trying to cover it up by what are they doing with the
Chemtrails.
jets? Yeah, chemtrails with the jets.
Right. So everyone that has their theories about chemtrails, they're kind of backing you up. They really are. They're giving you credit for you saying, "Look at those jets; they're chemtrails." Well, they are chemtrails.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just an interesting documentary, and a lot of it made sense. If you ever looked into all these theories, they tied them in really well.
They do, and supposedly he got all this information from a whistleblower who was in the know, and he said there's more. This is just
Right.
the tip of the iceberg.
He told them you basically got involved in something you weren't supposed to.
That's right. Yeah, they saw something they should have never seen.
Right. It's pretty interesting, though. And what was the third mistake? Was creating the nukes? Or?
Yeah, no, creating the nukes was one.
AI was the third.
AI was the third one. Drilling, tapping the earth that deep to retrieve the resources without being able to plug it back up. That's
Right.
a consequence. And then AI, and with the exponential capacity it has to just keep learning and learning, it's dangerous. Elon Musk was on there, and he had a little say in it, and he said he warned him to slow down, and he said people wouldn't allow us to detonate nuclear weapons. They'd say that's just crazy. He said, well, I've asked them to slow down with AI because it's just learning too fast and we don't know.
You basically said it's learning unchecked.
Unchecked, yes. And he said that's more dangerous than the nuclear weapons we have.
Right.
And I thought about it, and I'm like, he's right. So we all look at Hollywood movies, and sometimes we look at these Hollywood movies, and some of it does come to pass. So I always think about the Terminator movies when I hear about stuff like AI and this and that, because we already see the Boston Dynamics robots getting more and more advanced, more human-like. And just to think if you put AI into that, it's going to be smarter than a human,
Right.
More durable than a human.
And they used an example about the chess playing robot where it learned so fast, it learned to beat people, then it learned to beat the best people, then it learned to beat all the best people at the same time.
Well, I just read a little excerpt today on the internet, and it said during the Olympics right now in Tokyo, people were impressed with Honda's robot that played basketball, the basketball abilities it had. Now, I haven't seen it, I just read it, but people said they were very impressed by the basketball skills this robot had.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, I have to find footage of this. Now, I've seen all the Boston Dynamic videos of robots dancing, robots doing backflips, robots balancing, robots going for a stroll in the woods.
Or now Disney has a stuntman
Right.
robot.
Yeah, they showed Disney's stunt robot that's operated by AI, and it learns acrobatics, and I could not tell the difference between that and a human.
Right.
It was that good.
Yeah, the movements were good.
It was very good. So I'm going to tend to side with Elon Musk and say that AI right now is our greatest threat because we're helping develop it at an exponential rate. It's learning at an exponential
It's
rate.
learning too fast, and we're not putting in safeguards to control it.
Well, how can you control it? It's going to become smarter than us.
Right. Now, I've heard the saying, AI learns so fast there because it's a problem solver.
Right.
And eventually it's going to realize to be more efficient, the problem is mankind. Take that out of the equation.
and we could operate. And these robots could self-regulate. They could fix themselves. They self-diagnose.
Now, what I found was interesting was there was 2 clips of Elon Musk. The first one, he warned how it's more dangerous than nuclear warheads, whatever.
Right.
Then he was on the Joe Rogan show, and he was very careful about what he would say. It took him a long time to answer because he's thinking.
His words came out with well thought intentions.
Now, is that pressure from the government saying, "Hey, don't be scaring the people about this"?
Well, of course it is. I mean, once you're onto something and you're as popular as him, people are going to listen to what you say.
Right.
And at times, if you're onto a grain of truth, they don't want other people looking deeper into it and finding out that, hey, he may be right. They just want to nip it in the butt. So, of course, they probably said, we'll help you fund all your space exploration and whatnot.
And even Joe Rogan laughed at him because he kind of changed the story.
Yeah.
Now, the way Elon Musk was answering his questions, it takes me back to the 3 astronauts, the original 3 who landed on the moon. And they're interviewing them, and they were answering their questions in the same fashion. They would have to think about it and structure an answer where,
right.
And he said the statement, the package that the reporters have been handing out, that's pretty much how we remembered it.
Yeah.
And, that's basically a bunch of crap.
That is a crap.
But on that moon landing, they did say that the landing, the video was fake because they didn't have no way to do it back then.
They said the Apollo 11 was fake. The Apollo 12 was genuine.
Right. But anyway, they said they found structures on the moon.
Pyramids,
and UFOs flying around watching them.
Watching them while they were walking on the moon. They were being observed by aliens that, as we've all heard, have their bases on the moon.
Right.
On the dark side of the moon, which, China's been to the dark side of the moon, but they found a green glowing substance. That's all they told us. They're not going to tell us anything.
Right. Maybe they found some kind of Mugu guy or something.
Mugu guy gong? or maybe they found young Cherry.
Oh, that was Cream of some young guy.
Oh, young Cherry.
No, young Cherry, she only gives special on Father's Day.
Oh.
Okay, enough of that.
Anyway, this documentary was interesting. It would take probably an hour to talk and cover it in detail and comment on it and cover it.
Right. There's just so much information they give you, but it just weaves together so well.
It is. And if you're interested in watching it, I'm going to pass it on to you. The name of the video is Two-Face, the Gray Alien. It's a continuation of Sir No-Face, which is a group of people that went ghost hunting, and supposedly they captured this little gray alien peeking out from behind the door. And that's what started this whole rabbit hole journey.
That's how they got the Australian connection too.
Right. And they were invited by the Australian government to come to Cockatoo Island and do this expedition. The government wanted them to come here, document, film, do ghost hunting on this island. Was it for the sole purpose of them finding this little, maybe it's an AI robotic gray, and bringing all this to the surface, exposing it?
Because they said the night was pretty quiet until when they first reviewed that footage, they even missed it.
Right. Let me just say this. If the Australian government invites you to an abandoned island, restricted island, which is basically abandoned, to do some ghost hunting on some abandoned buildings there, and they're willing to pay you to do it, there's more to it than meets the eye.
Right, and they did that, and I believe the government leaks things. That's why it flies its craft and lets people take videos. It flies them at night, mind you, most of the time.
Right.
Now, last time we were in Jemez, I saw something in broad daylight I couldn't explain. It was, and they even talked about them cigar shape. I don't know if I'd call it cigar, but it was just a cylinder.
Right. And you're right. The government, they're going to leak information.
It's all leading up to
It's
what they're going to do.
It's getting the people prepared,
Right.
because nothing happens just coincidentally.
Right.
Not when the government invites you to do something.
Right. They always have a different agenda.
They have an agenda.
different motives.
Now, if this island was restricted and off limits, and the government would have never invited them there, especially to go ghost hunting, and we're going to pay you to do it. So
Right.
those were your two red flags.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, you should say, wait a minute. You're going to pay me to go to this island
Well,
and ghost hunt.
The government paid us to travel the world and drink beer.
Yeah, but they had their different agenda.
Right.
We were there because they're like, we want you to travel the world, drink beer.
No, they want us to travel the world and do their dirty work, but we can drink beer along the way.
That's what I mean by a different agenda. That's what I'm saying. And we were suckers. We fell for that agenda.
Hey, it was a good experience.
And see, that's
But
why
it opened our eyes to a lot of different stuff that people just don't get.
it did. And when I tell people some of the things I've witnessed in the military, I don't think they believe me.
Right. And some of the horrible stuff we saw, like in the galley.
Right. Some of the food
was
they
horrible.
served. Are you kidding?
Are you kidding? We gobbled that stuff down.
Yeah, well, you had no choice. You either, when you're out at sea, you either eat or you starve.
Yep.
Anyway, that's what we wanted to bring to you tonight. We hope you, for yourself, watch this documentary and make your own decisions. But it was pretty compelling.
Yeah.
And well covered with good documentation to back it up.
Right. It was just well put together, and it made a lot of things. It took a lot of bits and pieces from other stories and made a lot of sense out of things.
That's right. And
is it true? We don't know.
We don't know, but we'll find out.
Right.
Anyway, we want to thank you for listening. Hey.
Hey.
And reach out to us. And we want to hear from you. And until next time. Thanks. Peace out.
Peace.